You've been told to trust your gut, but your gut is a storyteller that hates uncertainty. And here's the paradox that sits at the heart of this episode. The more honest you are about uncertainty, the stronger and more humane your decisions become. We will step into that paradox together. What if your life could feel steadier, not because you always predict correctly, but because you know how to learn, test, and update when you don't? Tonight's question is simple and sharp. When the noise of life grows loud, how do you find the signal you can act on? You're about to build that inner instrument. At the end, I'll ask you to choose one small measurement and one small change. Keep that image in your pocket as we begin. A dial you can tune, even when the world crackles with static. Let's begin with a promise and a posture. Statistical thinking is not about loving math. It's about loving clarity. It's the craft of asking better questions, noticing variation, designing fair tests, and letting evidence change your mind without bruising your identity. Many writers, teachers, and practitioners have carried this banner across decades. Regardless of the edition you've held or the course you once took, the spirit is the same. Cultivate a way of seeing that prevents you from being fooled by randomness, seduced by anecdotes, and paralyzed by overconfidence. What you'll gain today is not a formula, but a habit set. You'll learn how to separate signal from noise in daily choices, how to resist the pull of dramatic stories that aren't typical, how to design little experiments in your own life, and how to update your beliefs gracefully. This is not cold or robotic, it's intimate. It's a way of protecting your time, your energy, your money, and your relationships from wishful thinking and panic. As we move through each idea, I'll give you simple moves you can practice tonight, questions you can ask yourself, and honest examples of how we all get tricked. You will leave not just understanding, but doing. One measurement, one change, one tune of the dial toward a clearer signal. Let's talk about variation. Variation is everywhere. Your mood, your sleep, your revenue, your workout totals, the time it takes you to commute. Everything wiggles. When we don't honor that wiggle, we overreact to every uptick and downtick. One good day and we crowned a method as magic. One bad day and we burn it all down. Statistical thinking starts with humility. Expect variation. Ask first, is this swing within normal bounds? Imagine you run a small shop online. Monday sales are high, Tuesday is low. Before rewriting your entire marketing plan, ask, how bouncy is a normal week? If you don't know, you can't judge today, so measure simply. For the next 4 weeks, track your daily sales and, more importantly, track the spread, the typical range. Then when a low day hits, you can say, this is noise, or this is unusual, let's investigate. That one sentence saves you hours of overreaction. Where do you need to build a sense of normal right now? Sleep? Content views? Energy? Choose one and start a tiny log. 2 numbers a day, no fancy dashboard. You're just making friends with the wiggle instead of fearing it. Now, sampling. Your brain keeps a highlight reel. It shows you moments that were extreme, emotional, or recent. That's not a representative sample. If you judge a person after one heated conversation, you're sampling the outlier. If you judge your new habit after a single rough week, you're sampling scarcity. Statistical thinking insists. You ask, is my sample typical of the whole? Imagine a friend tells you, everyone hated your video. Ask, who was everyone? 5 comments from an old audience? A subreddit that doesn't match your niche? Or a real cross-section of your viewers? Reality often softens when you check the sample. Practical move? Write this sentence at the top of your notes for the next decision you face. Who or what am I sampling and what am I missing? Then actually list it. You'll feel your mind widen. Self-reflection? How many of your current worries are built on a tiny, unrepresentative sample? And if you widened it, what else might you see? Next, base rates. A base rate is the background frequency of something in the world. Without it, we get hypnotized by the specific case in front of us. If someone says a startup doubled in a month, that's exciting. But what's the base rate of companies sustaining such growth? If a medical test comes back positive, how common is the condition in people like you before testing starts? Base rates prevent drama from bulldozing context. In your life, when you evaluate an opportunity, ask 2 questions. What usually happens to people like me in situations like this, and what is different about me or the situation that could justify betting on an exception? Write both answers plainly. If you can't name a difference, assume the base rate. Don't crush your dreams, give them honest odds and proper runway. Reflection? Which positive story are you using as proof you'll be the exception? What base rate are you ignoring? And what deliberate edge could you develop to earn that exception? Correlation versus causation. You know the slogan, but here's the deeper habit. Use correlative patterns as hypotheses, not verdicts. When sleep goes up and anxiety goes down, that suggests a path. It does not convict the path as the only cause. In everyday life, this saves relationships. If you notice that every time your partner works late, your mood dips, don't assume they are the cause. Hypothesize. Ask, what else co-moves with late work? Maybe you skip dinner, doom scroll, and go to bed later. Now you have levers. A practical move is the gentle triangle. For any pattern you notice, add 2 alternative explanations before you act. You teach your brain to hold uncertainty without freezing. Ask yourself, where am I telling a single cause story because it comforts me? And where could I add a triangle to uncover better levers? Designing fair tests. Most of our arguments are experiments we never planned on purpose. We try a new morning routine for 4 days, feel amazing, and declare victory. But maybe we also had fewer meetings, or a loved one returned from a trip, or the weather turned bright. Fair tests make differences comparable. They control what they can, they randomize when possible, and they keep outcomes honest. In your life, you can't randomize everything, but you can do A/B weeks. Week A, keep your morning as usual. Week B, add 1 new element: journaling, a walk, a protein breakfast. Keep everything else as stable as you can. Track 1 or 2 outcomes you care about: focus hours, mood, or the number of times you reached for your phone. Then switch back. Don't aim for lab purity. Aim for honoring reality. Fair tests keep you from falling in love with stories that don't have staying power. What simple A/B could you run next week that would actually teach you something you can use? Regression to the mean. Extreme performances tend to drift back toward typical. We praise someone after a peak and then watch them dip. We scold someone after a low and watch them rebound. We think our praise or scolding caused the change, but often time did. To live with this gracefully, praise effort consistently, especially in the valleys, and resist overreacting to peaks or dips. For your own work, celebrate a big win, then quietly expect the next day to be average again. That expectation beats the emotional whiplash that kills momentum. Ask, where am I mistaking natural recentering for a story about my talent or worth? The meaning of the p-value and a better lens. People misuse p-values as a stamp of truth. Here's a more helpful life-level translation. Evidence comes in degrees. A single test that seems significant under 1 threshold isn't a guarantee. It's a nudge. What you need more than thresholds is replication. Does a pattern repeat across time and context? For your habits, replication is king. Pick 1 change, measure 1 outcome, and ask, do I see the same direction 3 weeks in a row? That mindset builds trust in your own data. Effect size and practical significance. You can detect tiny differences that don't matter. You can miss big effects because you're staring at the wrong metric. In life, don't ask only, is there a difference? Ask, is the difference big enough to matter? If you switch headlines and your click-through rate goes from 4.0% to 4.2%, that might be statistically real at scale. But if you get 200 visits a month, the practical impact is tiny. Choose metrics worth caring about. In health, 5 fewer minutes on your phone before bed might not move your sleep. 30 minutes might. Decide your minimal meaningful change before you test. What's a difference that would actually change your behavior? Name it. Aim for that. Confidence intervals. Instead of one number, think in ranges. A range admits uncertainty and still lets you act. If you believe your next product launch will bring between $3,000 and $5,000 in the first month, with most of the probability around 4, that range trains you to prepare for variation. You set aside a buffer. You scale your ad spend with caution. You don't shatter when the result is 3.6. Speak in ranges to yourself and your team. Ask, what's a reasonable low, a reasonable high, and the center we expect? Then plan for all 3. That one habit alone can make your projects calmer. Bayesian updating. Every belief has a starting point. Then evidence arrives. Bayesian thinking is a polite way of saying start somewhere reasonable, then move step by step as data comes in. Don't wait for proof to act. Don't lock your belief on day 1. Let experience bend you, but not break you. Practically, write your prior in one sentence. For example, I think posting 3 times a week will likely grow the channel modestly over 3 months. Then decide what would make you update upward or downward. After 4 weeks, check. If results are better than your prior, nudge your belief up and invest a bit more. If results are worse, nudge down or pivot. A belief that can move becomes wiser. What belief in your life needs to be written down as a prior so you can update it instead of arguing about it? Confounding. When 2 things move together because of a hidden third, we get fooled. Coffee drinking and productivity might both rise because sleep improved. A relationship seems tense because work stress spiked for both of you. Before you declare a villain, list likely confounders: seasonality, sleep, stress, incentives, the calendar. In business, compare like to like. If you want to judge an ad, compare it to another ad that ran in the same week to a similar audience. If you want to judge your morning routine, compare weekdays to weekdays, not weekdays to Sundays. You're not being fussy, you're being fair. Measurement itself can distort behavior. This is the observer effect in everyday clothes. If you start counting steps, you will walk more. That's not cheating, that's the point. But be honest about it. If your goal is to understand your natural baseline, don't announce your measurement to yourself. Track quietly for a week. If your goal is to change, shout it from the rooftops. Measurement that changes behavior is a feature when you want to grow, and a bug when you want to know. Decide what you're doing and design accordingly. The law of large numbers in a human voice. 1 day is noisy. 10 days still wobble. 30 days start to whisper the trend. 90 days speak in full sentences. When your life contains slow processes, strength training, learning a language, audience building, decide your review window in advance. Promise yourself you will not judge the entire project on any window smaller than the one you chose. If you picked 30 days, then day 12 can be interesting but not decisive. Protect your motivation from the tyranny of tiny samples by giving it honest time to average out. Simpson's paradox reminds us that a trend can reverse when you group data differently. In life, this looks like this. Overall, your stress seems down this quarter, but in the subgroup of days when you traveled, it's up sharply. Or overall, your channel seems flat, but shorts are falling while long form is climbing. When results confuse you, split the data by a meaningful factor: weekday versus weekend, travel versus ohm, long form versus short form. Often the story clarifies in the subgroups. The move is not to slice endlessly, but to choose slices that map to real-world conditions. Ask, what 2 or 3 natural groups exist here that would be dumb to lump together? Outliers. The single best day and the single worst day teach you something. They stretch the range, but they do not define the center. Resist designing your life around rare spikes. Learn from them, then return to the middle. If a single post explodes, study it. Then ask what parts are repeatable and what parts were lightning. If you had an awful day with a loved one, repair it with care. But do not redefine the relationship by its worst moment. Keep your heart and your metrics anchored to the typical, not the extreme. Data cleaning in human terms is this. Be honest about what happened, not what you hoped happened. If you forgot to track 2 days, don't fill them with fantasy numbers. Mark them missing. If you changed your plan mid-week, note it. Your future self is both your colleague and your critic. Document decisions like you would for a teammate. The life you are building deserves that respect. Visualization. Your brain grasps patterns when it sees them. A 2-line chart of your focus hours across 8 weeks does more for your soul than a table of numbers. Draw simple lines. Use dots. Circle the weeks when you change something. If the trend climbs, congratulations. If it doesn't, be curious. Graphics are not decoration. They are cognitive prosthetics, letting you see your own story without self-deception. Every Sunday night, sketch your week on 1 page. Put it on your fridge or desktop. No one else needs to be impressed. You need to be in touch. Decision-making under uncertainty. Life doesn't give you guarantees. It gives you bets. Expected value thinking helps. Imagine 3 outcomes: the good, the okay, the bad. Give them rough probabilities. Multiply outcome by probability and add them up. You're not pretending to be a casino. You're reminding yourself that the best decision is the one with the best long-run payoff, not the flashiest short-run thrill. Then layer in risk management. What's the worst-case downside you cannot accept? Cap that risk. Use position sizing in life. If a new habit seems promising but uncertain, invest small until evidence improves. If a business experiment could fail, set a budget that wouldn't break you. In relationships, the analog is emotional pacing. Share more as trust shows itself. Expected value plus position sizing keeps you brave and intact. Stopping rules. Quitting is a skill. Define in advance the conditions under which you will stop a project, pause a habit, or pivot a strategy, not because you expect failure, but because you expect fog. Without stopping rules, you either quit too early on a good thing or grind too long on a doomed effort because you're attached. Write 1 line. If by date X, I don't see Y, I will do Z. It's not cruel. It's kind. It frees up your energy for the next fair bet. Pre-registration in plain life terms means deciding your plan before you're drowned in data. It fights the temptation to dig until you find something dramatic. Before your next fitness tweak, write down your primary outcome. Is it minutes moved, resting heart rate, or strength gains? Then stick to it. Secondary outcomes can be explored later, but the main question deserves the dignity of being asked clearly. Multiple comparisons are a sneaky trap. If you test 20 different thumbnail styles, one will look great by chance. The fix is humility and replication. When you find a winner, rerun it head-to-head. If it wins again, you've likely found something real. Teach yourself to say, "That's interesting. Let's see it twice." That sentence will save you from chasing shiny ghosts. Ethics. Statistical thinking must serve human dignity. Be honest with data about people. Don't manipulate charts to scare or seduce. Don't cherry-pick only the numbers that help you win an argument at the expense of truth. With yourself, don't inflate your logs to feel better. With your team, don't bury inconvenient facts. What we measure shapes what we value. Choose measures that reflect the world you actually want to build. Health over vanity, learning over ego, trust over clicks. Causality. Sometimes you need more than patterns. You need to know what causes what. In life, you approximate this with careful changes and repeated tests. If introducing a weekly one-on-one with a colleague reduces friction over several cycles, causality is plausible. If every time you switch to deep work before messages, your output rises, causality is plausible. When you can, introduce interventions one at a time and give them time to show their effect. Document confounders. Over months, causal stories emerge. Power and sensitivity. If your test is too small, you won't detect real effects. Translate this gently. Don't judge a new habit on 3 days of effort. Decide on a test length that could plausibly pick up change. 2 to 4 weeks for many personal habits is a decent starting point. If what you care about moves slowly, extend the window. If it moves quickly, you can shorten it. Match the test to the phenomenon. Prioritization. You can measure many things. Choose the vital few. Pick one health metric, one creative metric, one relationship metric. If each one improves a little, your whole life rises. If you try to chase 20, you scatter. This is not anti-ambition, it's pro-progress. Ask, what 3 metrics would meaningfully change my year if they improved? Then, tie each to one weekly action. Now, let's weave these ideas into lived scenes. Imagine your morning. You wake and your phone is there. You've sworn to stop doom scrolling. Don't wage a moral war. Run a fair test. For 2 weeks, put the phone in another room overnight. Track minutes of morning clarity before you check any screen. Track your mood at lunch on a simple 1 to 5 scale. That's it. If clarity and mood rise, you've learned something you can keep. If not, adjust. Ask if you changed too many things at once, or if sleep confounded the picture. You don't need a lab to reclaim your mornings. You need a plan, a measurement, and a willingness to update. Imagine your creative work. You believe posting 3 long-form videos a month will grow your channel. Write that prior. Choose a base rate by scanning creators near your size. Set your minimum meaningful gain, maybe a 15% increase in watch time over 8 weeks. Decide your stopping rule. If by 2 months you don't see signs, you will pivot to shorts plus weekly lives. Now, act. As results arrive, update step by step. If a video spikes, treat it as an outlier until it replicates. If weekends differ from weekdays, don't average them. Compare like to like. You're building not just an audience, but a mind you can trust. Imagine your relationships. You feel distance. Correlation says when both of you are stressed, conflicts rise. Causality asks, what can we change? Run an A/B. Week A, you text during the day and talk at night while multitasking. Week B, you wait and give 20 minutes of full attention at night, phones away. Track warmth after each conversation on a quiet scale. This isn't robotic. It's respectful. You're testing the hypothesis that attention heals more than frequency. If it bears out, replicate. If travel weeks behave differently, that's a subgroup with its own plan. You're letting data hold you together. In money, expected value frees you from luck worship. A friend pitches you a site project. You list 3 outcomes. It works and yields $1,000 a month. It ambles and yields $200, or it fizzles at 0. You assign rough probabilities. The expected value might look modest. Then you ask about downside, time, reputation, distraction, and cap your exposure. Maybe you join for a 90-day pilot at 4 hours a week. At the end, you will review. You put a stopping rule in your calendar. You're not being negative. You're being honest with your finite life. In health, regression to the mean protects your sanity. After a week of incredible workouts, your next week feels flat. That's normal. You keep going. You don't rewrite your plan. You widen your time horizon. You consult your 30-day chart instead of your 3-day mood. And when a big personal best arrives, you celebrate. Then you return to the average with love. This is how progress feels, a jagged line pointing upward. Data as story. The goal is not to become a machine. It's to narrate your life with fewer lies. When you write your prior and update it, you're practicing intellectual honesty. When you praise process over spikes, you're practicing emotional maturity. When you choose effect sizes that matter, you are aligning your metrics with your values. Statistical thinking is the craft of keeping your promises to yourself in a world that tugs at you with every noise. Let me give you a compact ritual you can adopt tonight. Choose one area: health, creative work, relationships, money. Write your prior in one sentence. Declare your minimum meaningful change. Decide one metric and one review window. Sketch a fair test you can run in the next 2 weeks. List one confounder to watch. Write one stopping rule. And choose a visualization you'll sketch on Sundays. This is your tiny lab of life. It will feel humble. It will feel almost too simple. But humility and simplicity are how trust is built. Let's zoom in on the emotional barriers that try to sabotage this way of living. The first is identity. We cling to what we said publicly. We don't want to update because it feels like losing face. Reframe updating as leadership. Say out loud, I learned something new. I'm adjusting. You model growth. The second is fear of the ordinary. We want dramatic change. Statistical thinking often whispers, keep doing the boring thing that works. Learn to fall in love with the unglamorous steady. The third is sunk cost. We've put time in, so we keep going. Your stopping rule is a kindness to your future self. The fourth is magical thinking about outliers. We want to be the exception. Earn your exceptions with deliberate edges, not with denial of base rates. The fifth is perfectionism. You think if you can't design a perfect experiment, there's no point. Wrong. A small, fair test teaches more than a big imaginary one. Be approximately right today. What about when stakes are high and emotions are raw? That's when statistical thinking shines brightest. In a crisis, speak in ranges. Set thresholds for action. Measure leading indicators, not just lagging outcomes. If your team is burning out, count early signals, missed check-ins, shorter messages, size in meetings, and intervene before the metric of turnover catches up. If a launch is wobbling, define what numbers would trigger a pullback versus a push. You're not waiting for certainty. You're agreeing on how uncertainty will be handled. Let's return to the self. Ask yourself these questions slowly. Where in your life are you reacting to noise as if it were signal? What single metric, tracked for 4 weeks, would bring you peace? Which base rate are you ignoring because the exception story flatters you? What belief are you clinging to that needs a written prior and an update plan? Which slice of your data would make the truth kinder and clearer if you separated it? Weekday versus weekend, travel versus home, beginner versus advanced content. What stopping rule would release you from a plan that no longer serves with dignity? And what small, replicable win could you pursue this week to rebuild trust with yourself? Here is a personal style reflection you can step into. Picture a table with a notebook, a pen, and a simple line drawn across a page. On that line, you've marked your last 8 weeks of effort on something that matters. Some dots are high, some are low. At first, you feel the old pull, pride on the highs, shame on the lows. Then you notice the shape. It tilts upward a little. You remember the mornings you chose to walk before work. You remember the hard conversation you prepared for instead of avoiding. You remember the small test you ran, the way you wrote your prior, and then updated it without drama. You feel a quiet relief. You are not the noise. You are the one tuning the dial. The world will keep crackling, People will keep telling dramatic stories. Algorithms will keep swinging. But you're building something steadier than certainty. You're building a relationship with reality that you can carry anywhere. Tonight, your challenge is gentle and real. Pick one area, write your single sentence prior, decide your metric and your review window, plan 1 2-week A/B, name one confounder, set one stopping rule, and promise yourself you will sketch the line on Sunday. Not to impress anyone, to remain in honest contact with your life. We close with a simple truth. You do not need perfect predictions to live a good life. You need better questions, fairer tests, and kinder updates. You need the courage to say, I don't know yet, but I'm learning. The future belongs to minds that can revise without breaking and to hearts that can measure without losing warmth. If you honor variation, respect base rates, test fairly, speak in ranges, update your priors, and choose metrics that match your values, you will feel something rare in a noisy world. You will feel sturdy, not because chaos stops, but because you carry a dial you know how to tune. Keep that image close, the dial in your pocket, the line on your page, the quiet habit of checking the sample before you judge. This is your way forward. Here is your last nudge. Tonight, choose one measurement and one change. Measure something that matters more than it flatters. Change one thing small enough to repeat, big enough to feel. See what the next 2 weeks teach you, then update, then continue. That is the craft. That is the promise. That is how a life gets clearer, kinder, stronger, one honest test at a time. Here's your call to action, precise and simple. In one sentence, name the single metric you'll track for the next 2 weeks and the small change you'll pair it with. Drop that sentence in the comments so we can learn alongside you. Then, if you're ready to tune your dial further, open the video on the right where we practice designing a fair A/B week in real time. Save this episode for Sunday night review and share it with one person who needs calm clarity today. Join us not for louder certainty, but for braver honesty. We started with the question, how do you find signal when the world is noise? You do it by carrying your own dial and tuning it gently. Tonight,